Hey, good morning, everybody. It's the S&J Real Estate team and our weekly update. And this morning's topic is going to be appraisals. Now, why, as you as a seller out there are considering to sell your home, why does the subject of appraisals matter? And I will tell you that lately in the Phoenix metro area, we are seeing more and more appraisals come up a bit on the short side of contract price. Now, that is in large part because we have been in a declining market for what feels like 4 years straight now. And, obviously the pressure started to relieve post COVID right around June of 2022 when rates started creeping back up. And well, here we are, it's July, so 4 years later, 2026. And most appraisers out there have been adjusting downward due to a declining market. Now, in the Phoenix metro area, there are a lot of little pockets that are still performing incredibly well. We're seeing Gilbert multiple offers, Chandler multiple offers. When the right house, positioned correctly, priced appropriately, and is checking those boxes for all the features that buyers are looking for right out of the gate, those homes typically are selling in the first week or so, which is ironic because a lot of the national news headlines are, a down market, so forth. And, there are still plenty of opportunities here in the Phoenix metro area, but overall, the appraisers have been, sliding the market down as well, or working the market down with valuations and what they're seeing. We came up with, we had a property come up short on an appraisal. Actually, two properties come up short on an appraisal, hence this topic this morning, in the past couple months. And one of them was pretty egregious. And let's start with that story first and just kind of give you an idea of how one house can change the entire perception or valuation of a neighborhood. This one property we listed, and it just so happened that property was what I would consider to be a mountain property. It is close to bordering on the mountain. It was one street down, but on Lookout Mountain, and a popular area in the zip code of 85022, which borders the Moon Valley area, which is a very, very popular community off 7th Street and Thunderbird area. Lookout Mountain goes around, basically encapsulates the mountain in between Cave Creek Road and 7th Street on the western side of Lookout Mountain, Cave Creek Road being on the east side. Now, we listed the property for $835,000. We felt like, based on the like properties around the mountain that were very similar in size, features, pool, garage spaces, and upgrades to the home, it had a good shot at selling for $835,000. Now, I will touch on aspirational pricing. There are sellers out there that obviously, when we own properties, we know that people want to get the most money that you can possibly get for your property, and that is, of course, certainly fair. And obviously the laws of supply and demand matter. So we felt like $835,000 was a good price for this property. The sellers wanted to list it for about $40,000 more, which we advised against based on what we were seeing. I personally felt like the neighborhood had not quite gotten that high to support a higher price point than $835,000. To make a long story short, we launched the property. We had an incredibly successful open house weekend, which, by the way, open houses, they can be an incredibly productive source for clients, both for agents, for selling the home, you name it. We had 54 groups come through that open house that weekend. And of those 54 people, or the 54 groups that came through, one set became the buyer. They were a renter in the neighborhood. And so it just goes to show you that that open houses do work. I know that there's a lot of homeowners that we speak to that are like, open houses really don't sell homes. They actually really do. In fact, this listing and the listing that we followed both of them sold through walk-ins on the open house. So, I've been in real estate for a bit of time now, and I don't ever put it past pretty much any opportunity for a buyer to come out of the woodwork, whether it be social media, open house, you name it. They will, when they find the house, they're showing up. So the house went into contract at $835,000 and slightly more. We had multiple offers on this property, and the appraisal was scheduled. Now, as listing agents, both Jessica and myself, we will always go to our listing appraisal appointments, and in fact, even more so on the buy side now as well, just because it's our opportunity to at least have a quick conversation with the appraiser, to let them know what we were thinking, how we came up with our pricing, give him examples of homes that we felt are like kind and that support the value. Obviously, the appraiser is an independent body who comes and makes an assessment after doing their job as to an opinion of value on the home, especially when you are going through a conventional loan or a lender, FHA, VA. You're always going to have an appraisal assigned to the house unless there's a certain ratio of money that you're putting down where the appraisal is no longer necessary. Then the lender can typically desktop appraise the property when the leverages or loan to value ratios are so far heavy into the buyer's equity side that the lender isn't concerned about whether or not there is a value that is going to not be met in this process. So the appraiser for this house came out. I met with the appraiser, and unfortunately the appraiser, before I even had an opportunity to really explain my thinking and explain our pricing, had informed us that he felt like we were way out of line in terms of pricing. And we always try to respect everybody else's opinion and job, and so it's never a combative issue for us, but I certainly let him know that I felt otherwise and showed him my packet of material that explained the pricing, on how we felt we got to where we got for that house and why the value was supported. And, obviously we have an opinion, the appraiser has an opinion, and, unfortunately, in the world of appraisals, it is an opinion. It's a methodic opinion based on a series of calculations that I won't go into, but nevertheless, this appraiser came back $135,000 short of the contract price. So an $835,000 home, the appraiser came back at $700,000. Now, you guys as potential sellers out there, you ought to be a little scared when you hear something like that. It's terrifying, right? Because you're thinking, oh my God, I really thought my house was worth X, and now you're telling me it's $135,000 less. Well, when it's something that's that far off, we typically know that a mistake was potentially made, and it's probably best to have another appraiser go in and review it. And so we have relationships with other appraisers, folks that teach real estate classes and so forth, that we lean on and resource. It's always good to have an appraiser in your back pocket. It's always good to have an attorney in your back pocket, or a banker, or a real estate agent, right? So, or to know a good surgeon as well. So we called one of the appraiser contacts that we have a good working relationship with, and I've studied a lot under and learned a lot. And we asked that appraiser to review the appraisal for this property and see if he could come up or identify any errors on the appraisal. So the review occurred. The appraiser did identify some mistakes on the appraisal that he would not be able to verify unless he actually went and did a full appraisal on the property. Our seller obviously was very excitable at this moment in time, worried about where their property was actually going to land in this critical contract for them. So we went ahead and made the decision to hire the appraiser to come on in and do a full appraisal. And that appraiser did come in a few days later, redid the appraisal. There were some incorrect measurements, some features that were missing on the original appraisal that the second appraiser identified. That appraiser did come back with a new valuation for the property at $795,000. So much better, not near contract, but certainly much better. Meanwhile, during this process, we were able to petition the lender for the buyers for a reconsideration of valuation on the property. And without going into too many details, this specific lender denied our request for review. They were not interested in having any additional information supplied to them. Or actually, you know what? Let me correct myself. They denied our request for reconsideration after reviewing the supporting material that we submitted. We had to, both the buyer's agent, who I have to give a lot of credit to, the buyer's agent even knew that there was something wrong with the appraisal when it was that far off. And in some cases, as a seller, you're very dependent upon your agent's ability to hold that deal together, because for all intents and purposes, the buyers could have walked away from that contract just like that, and the deal was over. And it would have been very difficult to unwind a $700,000 appraisal when the lender isn't going to review it. So we ended up submitting a request for review. They allowed us to submit our material, but they denied an adjustment. So they kept it at 700. And we made the suggestion to the buyer's agent, perhaps you might want to give another lender a call and take a look at maybe some other options. And so they did so, and picked up another lender to come to take over the deal. And within a matter of a day or two, that lender was on the ball, was able to pick up the file, run with it. They got an appraisal scheduled within a matter of, I think, 48 hours. Had their appraiser come back, had that new appraiser come out. So we're now on appraiser number 3. So appraiser number 3 comes out and meets me at the property to have our quick discussion and to do his job. I explained the story to him as to where we were at. I also supplied him our material on where we felt that how we felt the house compared to other properties around the mountain. Now, one thing of note, most appraisers are going to typically look at the pocket of neighborhood that it sits in, and some will make considerations where they will allow a 1 mile radius as the crow flies. Certainly in this instance around the mountain, they gave us a mile to go around the circumference of the mountain because, as we pointed out, a buyer who is considering purchasing on Lookout Mountain per se is not necessarily beholden to just one side, the east or the west side or the north or the south side of the mountain. They're looking at all properties around the mountain and seeing what's available. And so when we submitted our information to the third appraiser, we were on pins and needles. We waited, I believe it was probably about 3 days in order to get the result back from the third appraiser. But finally, the third appraiser looked at our data, felt like our data was sound, looked at the various properties in great detail, took a considerable amount of time weighing the information, and they also took into consideration the amount of people that came to our open house and the amount of offers we had on the property. We had 3 offers on the property, and we had 54 groups come through on the open house weekend. The property went into contract effectively 4 days after being on the market. So that type of market performance also weighed into the appraiser's decision, as in the market showed its desire and support for that respective price point, in addition to the houses that we had identified around the mountain that gave value to this. Now, why does all this matter? Why does it matter? It matters having a phenomenal real estate team on your side, because what would have happened as a potential buyer or seller in this scenario, where more often than not, what we end up seeing happen in these cases is that the deals just blow up. The agents don't have the fortitude sometimes to challenge the appraiser, or maybe the tool set on knowing how to do that, the appropriate way to go about it, who to ask for help and information on. And so, sometimes when you get into an appraisal debacle like that, it could kill a deal in its entirety. But we had the fortitude and the knowledge and knew how to basically kick this can down the road in such a way that we could get the result we were looking for, um, by way of first one didn't give it to us, second one got a lot closer, third one hit the contract, based on the information. Now that doesn't always happen. I do feel like in a lot of ways we got lucky. So yay us. But it's super important having a good real estate team behind you so that when you come up with roadblocks like this, you've got, a team that knows how to navigate those nuances and who to call and the right questions to ask and the right questions to not ask. So, and when I say not ask, when we're asking for a reconsideration of evaluation on an appraisal, not a lot of appraisers are going to raise their hand and go, oh yeah, by the way, I totally screwed that up, let's go fix that, right? Like, they're going to think, hey, I did a good job and my opinion stands and so forth. So you've got to be sensitive when you're asking for a review, because the last thing I want to do is offend an appraiser out there that is working hard, but they are very instrumental in getting deals to go through. They are the ones that communicate back to the lender who's approving your loan the valuation of a house. And so it is critical that you've got an agent who's showing up out there and defending the value of the property, defending the seller's equity, defending the buyer's decision to purchase a property at a certain price. Obviously, if I was a buyer and I go offer $500,000 on a home and it comes back at $400,000, as the buyer, I'm not going to feel very confident paying $500,000 when an appraiser just told me that it was only worth $400,000. So it behooves everybody working together to help get these deals go across the goal line. So we had one more scenario about a month and a half later, another property that came back. We had listed it for $735, ironically. That property came back. That property actually went into contract also in 4 days, but it went into contract with multiple offers and well over asking price. This one went into contract at $750. So a good chunk over the $735. It was a VA loan, and so we were given the opportunity to what's called a Tidewater event, where per VA guidelines, if an appraisal comes back short of contract, per VA guidelines, it allows us 2 business days to provide additional information to support our valuation on the property that may sway the appraiser to maybe he might have missed something, but the appraiser is basically saying, hey, listen, I'm giving you two business days to provide me with some more information to help me get to where you think the contract might where the contract is for your property. Long story short, that property did end up appraising at $730, so $5,000 just short of the contract, which was just fine for us because the buyers had written in 2% worth of concessions to justify their asking price offer. They wanted some cash to be rolled into the backside of the deal to compensate their closing costs. And unfortunately, the appraiser kind of saw through that because they're able to read the contract and see what concessions are being asked and what the listing price of the property was, and then what the property actually went into contract for. And so at times when you see a property go into contract above asking price, and then there's concessions baked in to put cash into the deal for the buyers on the other side at the closing table, a lot of times, especially in this market, the appraisers are going to go, nope, sorry, do not pass go, do not collect $200. That was a red card move, man. You can't do that. And so that's kind of what happened in this deal here. But the buyers understood that they had to walk away from their concessions, but they did accept and appreciate the fact that they were purchasing the house for $5,000 under the list price. Our seller was just fine with letting it go at $5,000 under. She was under some different time constraints and so forth, and so that we needed to move the deal forward in order to benefit her particular situation. So, at any rate, appraisals, they're super important. They mean a lot, and that's why pricing your home. If you are a seller and you're considering selling your home, and you just arbitrarily put a number to your price, to a value to your home without really doing any research, I can tell you that the appraisers on the back end are going to catch it if you are out of line. So uh, love to take any of your questions. Feel free to hit us up in the chat. Please like and subscribe. It helps our algorithm. We're trying to bring more content to the Phoenix Valley here and add weight to the real estate industry here and talk about new topics every week to help educate buyers and sellers out there. I'm Steven Ensign. I'm the owner of the S&J Real Estate Team. My wife Jessica is my partner, and we're based at WM Partners. We've got, I think 156 agents in Arizona now. No, 158 in Arizona. So 158 agents at the brokerage now. Anyway, have a great day. Any questions, please give me a call or a DM, and happy to answer any questions and have a great chat with you guys. All right, have a lovely day. We'll talk soon.